Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hope you had a great weekend. Here at Incarnate, we like to start our week with a little masterclass session that kind of caters to our power users. In today's session, we're going to be covering job listing boards, or probably what's more commonly known as a quest board. So they're pretty important. So now with a quest board, it's something that every campaign has. Every campaign needs quests. You generally find them on a quest board. Now, of course, there are multiple ways that you can get quests, NPCs, whether you're in and you do an encounter and you meet an NPC in combat, all kinds of ways that you can kind of get quests. But the most common one is definitely going to be a job listing board. So I'll be showing you how to make those. And there are different ways to make them, and it really just depends on the theme of where you're at. And you normally find quest boards near settlements. Wherever there's like a city, a village, a castle, a town, a capital, because for a jobs listing board, for a quest board, it needs people who have demands and needs. They want services. And so you need to put it near settlements. That's the best place to put a job listing board or a quest board. It would be odd if you had a random quest board out in the forest somewhere and there was nobody around to kind of like, oh yeah, who do I go to after I complete this task? So near settlements is where you're going to have them. And of course, again, they should be themed. If you're near like a basic town or something, then you don't need to add like gothic horror theme to it or a pirate theme. If you're maybe in a shanty town, then maybe you want a pirate theme. Welcome everybody. I'm glad you're all here, by the way. So let's kind of just go over some examples that I've kind of put here. Here's one right here, just a regular job listing board that you would see maybe outside of a town or a city, maybe even a village. It is kind of broken down a little bit. This one's a much older one, but this is like a regular community board, which you can see there's some lighting and then all the different jobs on there. There's another theme here. This is like a rickety quest board that it's different. It looks like there's a giant log in the ground and then there's a board with all the different quests on it. This is like shantytown, pirate, or it could be like an old dilapidated fort, military encampment, anything like that. And then this last one is a gothic horror quest. You see this very clear theme here, gothic horror. And I used this one in a campaign not too long ago where the quest board was actually enchanted, and this skeletal creature that's attached to it would actually answer players' questions, but it would only come alive at night during like a certain witching hours at night. And then players would actually traverse through the most difficult part of the campaign, which is at nighttime when the most strongest and the most difficult monsters would come out. And so traveling to the quest board and to ask it a series of questions about quests. And I would usually tie in some of the quests. Not every quest is kind of a rando quest. I generally tie in a lot of the quests on the quest board into the main plot. And what's really nice about that is players may not complete all the quests. And so if there's some important plot device that doesn't get triggered because of a certain quest, just put it on a quest that a players are going to go on. So if you have these quests kind of prepared, you can shift them and move them around, because players might not do every quest. They might not complete every quest and then get an important narrative plot device. So just as a DM, just have your quests shuffled and ready to be used when players decide to engage in some, and when they decide they don't want to do one, and if they win or lose. Okay, so just got to be on your toes when it comes to putting together your quests. So let's just get started on making one. I've already opened up a map right here, where I'm just using your basic 4x3, which is your landscape aspect ratio. It's just your standard aspect ratio. It's the default one when you go in to you choose your aspect ratio. Now I've picked a couple themes here that I want you, the viewers, to pick from, whether you want to make a pirate theme, a gothic horror theme, or an orc theme. So I'll have you guys decide A, B, or C. Please put that in the chat, and then we'll kind of figure out what the theme of this will be. I mean, we can even just do your basic broken down one, but I want you guys to pick the theme. I want you to be more engaged. I love that, Bitter Dan. My players better complete every quest. Yeah, I love that. That's great. Oh, I do like the pirate idea. That'd be great. And a pirate theme actually sounds like a lot of fun. That rickety one, somewhat pirate, but it wasn't definitively pirate. Ooh, we got orc in there. All right, I'll let people keep making their decisions while I kind of go over a little bit more about quest boards. Ooh, orc pirates. Oh, that's the merger of two very beautiful things, orcs and pirates. I love them both. They're wonderful. Bitter Dan, you're speaking to my heart here. I flutter. It sounds good. I think we might go with that. That might be sold. Ding ding. Sold to Bitter Dan. Nice. All right, so we'll go ahead and create a pirate one. Normally what I'll end up doing is I'll just make the background black, just as if it was like nighttime, or just so that my stamps will pop out against that black neutral color. We can change the background and the painting later. So I'll just pick color, we'll fill it, and now we have this here. Okay, now the next step is we have to decide the overall layout for the pirate thing. And what I'm kind of thinking is we could make something look like half a ship. Like maybe there's like, or maybe the bow or the stern of a boat, a rowboat or whatever would work as a nice headpiece. And then like maybe a board, rickety old board that looks like it's falling apart would be a great thing. And then we can add in like maybe a pirate lantern and a pirate flag, maybe some weapons sticking out of it, some blood, all of those things kind of look good. So we'll stick with that kind of theme. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll just select the pack that I think would be best. And so I'll usually just stick like this. We have Sea Beach Rex. This looks great. And this right here are these docks right here. These will work great as like the board itself. Now, too big, the line work looks a little weird, so I'll scale it down to where it's a decent size, and I'll just put two of them side by side. It does look a little repetitive by doing it that way, so I can just do it like this. So it's not quite as repetitive. This will act as the base. And what I'll do is I'll bring the brightness down a little bit because I want the paper to pop out that's going to be on top of it. So this will be like the base. And if you want it to be like a small one, like if it's a very small pirate orc shantytown, then just have the board be this size. If it's a much larger orc shantytown, and that means more people, that means more quests, then make it larger. Okay, so we'll start with this first, and we'll just kind of keep going and looking at stuff. There's like this nice little ship piece right here. This looks nice right here as like a headpiece that can kind of go on top. Let's go down. And then let's maybe scale it down a little bit so I can see it a little bit. And then what I'll do is I'll take these little side pieces and then just put them right on the side like that. Okay. I think that looks okay for now. This is going to act as like the headpiece that goes on top. We'll stick that for now. And I don't want everything to be perfectly straight. It's kind of an orc shantytown. So I kind of want things to feel a little disheveled. So I'll rotate things so they're a little rando, looks like they're kind of broken up a little bit. And I think that will kind of help to give it that shanty look. Even maybe rotate one of these this way and one of them that way. And then this, we'll just go ahead and bring the brightness down just a little bit. I don't want it to be so bright. And then we'll no shadows. We'll play with shadows later. Oops, my bad. Bring the brightness down a little bit. Layer down. So we've got a headpiece, we've got the board, and then the headpiece that goes on top. What about how does it rest? Does it hang by chains on a post? Is it leaning on something? Are there poles holding it up? Why don't we look around for stuff? Let's go just to Fantasy Battle Maps and type in mast. It might be cool to have like a mast being the pole that kind of holds the whole thing together. That kind of makes sense. So we could put like two masts on the side here that are kind of holding it up. That could kind of be okay. Go off screen a little bit. And I think I might actually make these just a little bit thicker. I might decide to have it hanging. I think with other boards, I've kind of put these kind of poles holding it up. We could have it to where it's hanging from like a board, hanging from maybe some kind of stand. So let's try doing that real quick. Let's go back into our Sea Pirate. If you're kind of confused, like, hey, where's the pirate stuff? It's not under P anymore, it's under S. So C, and then you'll find pirate ships, sailing ships, that kind of stuff. So if you're kind of confused, like, hey, where did the pirate stuff go? It's there. whenever we kind of reorganize something, sometimes people kind of, it takes a minute to adjust to those organizations, right? Okay, let's go ahead and kind of create like maybe a post. We're just going to try it out. It may not turn out exactly the way I want it to, so I'm just going to try it out first to see how it looks. And if it doesn't work out, then we won't save it and we'll just do something else. R. Nice. That's great. You know, maybe I don't want that here. Maybe I want to push this. Oh, I got a better idea. Let's make it look like a top-down kind of ship a little bit. I got an idea. Let's play around a little bit. Let's kind of make it look like a ship a little bit like this. There we go. Oh, you know, I like that better. And then maybe we can use some chains or rope to make it look like it's hanging here. I think that looks okay. Let's move this all the way to the side like this. I want enough room to see the ship itself. And let's actually flip and... No, let's leave that there. It's fine. Oh, yeah, I could hang it from a mast. That could be cool. Oh, yeah. I mean, it could do it to where a mast is in the background. So one thing you could do is do it like this. Just have the mast be behind it, and then chains are holding it up. And then we can put like a crow's nest at the top part, and that will definitely give it a pirate look. The thing is that this is such a scrawny mast. I kind of feel what we should do is kind of boost the width a little bit. And because it's behind it, we should bring the brightness down a little bit more. There we go. And so now we kind of have this nice thicker mast there that we want. And then what we'll do is we'll create a, might be cool, is create a crow's nest. I think that would be a nice touch. So what we'll do is we'll go in here and I'll show you how to make a crow's nest wood wall. We'll type that in. And let's kind of use wood wall stamps to kind of create that. And so I'll show you how I would go about doing that. So it doesn't have to be a life size. It doesn't have to be a life-size crow's nest. It's just there for looks. So first, I'm going to rotate it because I think that a perfectly straight mast doesn't really give the shanty feel to it, and neither does having a perfectly straight board. So what I'll end up doing is kind of rotating them just a little bit. Well, actually, what I'll do is I'll straighten this out first, and then I'll rotate it once we've added the crow's nest to it. So let's put that there. Let's bring the brightness down a little bit. I'm not going to use the shape tool for this quite yet. I think I'm just going to put it by hand for now. Sometimes the shape tool doesn't always work for every situation. So it's just really, and it's really just up to you. So what I'll do is I'm going to create a couple of these. Let's see where it is. Let's push this up a layer. And let's bring the brightness down. There we go. I'm going to copy and paste. And what I'm going to do is I'm creating the railing. So I've created the base where a pirate would technically stand on top of it. And now I'm going to create the railing that's going to represent the crow's nest. So I'm going to rotate this one a little bit. Rotate this one a little bit. There we go. And then from there, we can go in and put in the top part of the rail like this. There we go. Okay. Let's put it way up top, like right about there. Okay. The one thing is that I do want these to be a little bit darker to kind of represent that they're at a different layer. Remember, the trick to making something pop out is contrast. So if I bring the brightness down on these just a little bit more, these things will start to pop out a little bit more. Okay. And then what we can also throw on top of there is a pirate flag, because I feel like that's kind of a given, right? So there's a pirate flag here, and we'll kind of put one right here. Let's see if I can just push this up a little bit more. Oopsie, let me undo that. Push this up. Oops. Let's go just use the transform. Transform the height. Bring it up a little bit. There we go. And then we'll add the flag right there. Okay. Now we can group this whole thing. Group. And generally when you group, you should probably label it. What's really cool is you can right click, rename, and just call it mast. Rename. And now we can rotate it just a little bit like that. There we go. And I can bring it down a little bit more. And then we might want to consider grouping this as well. Create group. And of course, we're going to call it board. There we go. Cool. And we can bring the board size up just a little bit. And then what we'll do is I'll have the board hanging from the mast and the crow's nest. So what I'll do is I'll go to the line tool and just type in rope. You can also use chain, but I kind of feel like ropes are more common on a ship than chains would be. Like you'd probably have a chain on a anchor, but you probably wouldn't have chains up with all the rigging where the sails are at. So a rope is a good choice. What I'll do is I'll put one down live and just see how thick it is, how dark it is. Make it a little bit thicker, make it a little bit darker. It needs to be a little bit thicker than that. Okay. And then from here, we can just have it kind of hanging from here. And so I'll just kind of connect it like this. And then this kind of looks like it's hanging from here, like that. Now, what also looks kind of cool is just having it look like they're just hanging. And so you can just have a couple just hanging like this. And I kind of want that to be hanging over the quest board, so I'll select that again. Okay. Yep, that's a great idea. The idea of using the anchor. That's a great idea. And we'll use a chain too. No, that's a genius idea, first time chatter. Sauron Corn. I totally agree. I love that idea. We'll definitely be doing that. Now let's push this up more. We might have to do a resize because I kind of feel like this is becoming a more vertical setup than a horizontal setup, because I do want to show stuff hanging from the ship part, but I also don't want to hide anything from the flag. So what I'll end up doing is I'll save it, and then I'm going to resize the map. So let's just save it. We're going to resize, and we're going to change the orientation. For me, a lot of billboards or community boards, quest boards are generally going to be 4x3 landscape, but depending on the design, it might change the format because, again, this is a mast. It's got a vertical kind of alignment, a vertical feel to it. It's best to resize it, and then that way we can take advantage of the verticality of the build that we have so far. So what we'll do is we'll resize map, and what I always do is snap to grid, so that way I can kind of keep the same dimensions. And what I'll do is I'll just give it enough room to go to the side here, and I want to give it room to go down for things to hang, and I want enough room to where the mast or the flag doesn't go off screen. So we do want enough room for things to hang down. Let's go down a little bit more. There we go. I think about that should look okay. I want to be able to hang some stuff, like maybe there's some rope or a lantern. There needs to be light to light up this this quest board, right? If it's nighttime, how are people going to see this board? And we also need to give it an orc feel as well. First, we're going to stick with the pirate elements. Once we finish the pirate elements, then we'll add the orc elements. So you start with one theme first and then apply the other theme on top of that. So just a kind of a heads up, if you get confused, just pick one. I'm going to start with pirate first, and then we'll build the orc on top of it. So let's quickly confirm. I'm going to click this, turn this off, save and proceed. It's going to open up a new one. Thanks for being patient with me on this one. When we're done with this, we're going to, well, we'll add that anchor on the side here. I'm probably going to have to adjust some of the mast. Some of it is a little too high up. I might want to bring it down a little bit more, but let's start with that first element. What we were talking about was the anchor. So let's first build the chain. Just type in chain. That was what you would probably associate. It's a little too big, and I don't want to have the shadow on. So I'll turn off the shadow. Let me see what the caps. Okay, let's keep the caps on for now. Yeah, I see the anchor on the boat. We might cover that up with a orc element, but I kind of feel like what's really nice about a quest board is that you can have things hanging off of it. So what I'll end up doing is I'll hide that first anchor, so that way there won't be some confusion about that. Like, wait a minute, why does this boat have two anchors? We'll just hide it. But I think that having things hanging down is going to help to influence the verticality of the map, right? If things are hanging down, it's going in a vertical way. And so what I want to do is I want to lead the eye upward. Things are hanging and then it follows the mast up to the board. Then you follow the mast further up to the crow's nest. You follow the eye upward towards the mast. So when you're doing a composition of any kind, even a battle map, think about where the viewer's eye or your player's eye is going to go first and then travel. And usually what happens is that it's going to be the darkest dark against the lightest light in contrast. It's usually where the eye goes first. And I'm kind of noticing that's going to be the pirate flag. So that what will end up happening is the eye will actually start at the pirate flag and then move down the mast. And it makes sense. As they're going down, things are also hanging down for pushing the eye downward. So it's kind of a neat little trick there. Just want to mention that. So let's do that. I think that size is good for now. Let's add an anchor. And you know what? I don't think we need to have a super detailed one. I think just a regular old anchor is fine. We'll put focus on other elements instead of the anchor. It looks a little, I think then I'm wondering if we should move the anchor higher up. Like maybe like right here or something like that. We can even push it behind the board. There we go. And if it's behind the board, then it's probably going to be a little bit darker. So we'll bring the brightness down. And then I'm going to put this right there. And I'll also bring the brightness down on this as well. Okay, there we go. I'm not 100% satisfied with that. I kind of prefer to have it over here somewhere. Let's put it on this side, obviously, because it is tilting. So it kind of makes sense to put it there. Okay. The one thing I'm noticing now is it is offset, right? And the offset problem is that there's one thing hanging. We should probably hang other things. What might be a good idea is adding more rope. Like we can add some rope that swings or hangs from the board, like this. Oopsie, trying to get that line is hard. Oh, you know what? Let's do a cool little trick here with curves. So with the curve, you can just put it to pen, click, hold, and then you can create the curves that you need. So click, hold, put the curve there. There you go. And now you don't have to use the free draw to do it. Nice little trick there. And what I recommend is that you don't just have ones that drape down, but have some that hang down at various lengths so that it kind of creates this nice feeling of things draping down from it. Okay, there we go. All right, now you have some nice rope. Because it's hanging beneath the ship, it might make sense to make it a little bit darker. Oh, just contrast is what you use to make things pop out or diminish them into the background. So remember that trick. So select them all, bring the brightness down a little bit. There we go. And that kind of makes more sense. I missed one right here. Let's click that and bring the rope. See? Click this one. My bad. There we go. Bring the brightness down a little bit. There we go. Okay. So you guys are getting the general idea on how I kind of put things together. I think overall, this is a great start. We can now start to put on the more orcish elements that are going to make it be like, okay, how do I make this look orc? So we'll get started on that. So let's go to one of the orc packs. There's an orc right here. You see all the different options that we have here. So we'll go to expand all assets, and we can start going through these assets to kind of figure out what would look good that would give it a more orcish feel. One of the things that we can do is we can use some of these kind of like orcish masks to already kind of get it started. And you know, you can put the mask at the top of the board as like a headpiece for the board. You might want to consider putting it at the base of the crow's nest. Maybe you want to put it up here. If you're going to do that, maybe use a mask where the horns aren't sticking out as much. Maybe you want to add this one. So this will kind of begin to orcify the build. So it's up to you on how you want to go about doing it. I think a headpiece just at the top right here is not a bad idea. And just to show that it pops out a little bit, we're going to use a shadow to emphasize that it pops out. So select the stamp first, put the stamps, the horizontal offset and the vertical offset at 0, bring the blur up, bring the bright or the intensity up, and then just drop the verticality, drop the offset, or you would go to the right to make the shadow go down, and that will make it look like there's a light going down, and it causes that head piece to pop out. So that's step one. Let's go add some orcish tusks to it. We got some tusks here. Remember I mentioned that we kind of want to hide this right here. So let's do that. Let's maybe put a tusk on top right here. And let's maybe put another one over here. Yep, ropes all over the skull is a great idea. Let's add the tusks first to kind of give it a orcish kind of feel to it. And then we'll add on to the next step. One thing at a time. Let's see. I don't want to use the same tusk every time. Ooh, a blunt one like that. That's a good idea. But since it's farther down, let's bring the brightness down a little bit. And I might want to consider turning off the shadows on this. I don't know if I need them right now. All right, so it's already starting to become orc-like with the orc. That at this. Let's add in a couple more orcish elements to it. I think these are kind of nice. This little piece right here, this would look great on top of the mast. Let's pick one that might look the best for it. I think I like that one. Yeah, that looks good up there. Let's custom, bring that down. And let's bring the brightness down a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. Let's take a step back just to make sure that it looks right. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Some more things that we might want to consider adding to it are some hanging skulls are a good one. We can put them right down here at the bottom. Let's bring the brightness down on them just a little bit. There we go. And let's put another one like maybe hanging from, let's see here. Let's have one hanging from here by going and just connecting the two. Rotate. Well, let's not put them there because I don't want to block room for where the what's it called? Where the paper's going to be. So I just got to be careful with that. Okay. Let's see here. Some other things we might want to consider doing is changing the color of the board. We can go with more purplish, add a little bit more reddish color to it. We can boost up the contrast a little bit to make it pop out more, or we can just leave it as it is. Sometimes things don't always go as you planned it to be. Let me see. Could I make it a little bit more redder? I think that might look a little bit better, adding a little bit more red to it. And we'll use some other elements too. Let's push this to the side, make sure that the ship is popping out more. There we go. I kind of like that. Let's go ahead and quickly save it. We're going to call it a Orc Pirate quest board. Perfect. You would find this maybe like towards, maybe there's like an orc settlement near like an orc harbor where there's an infamous pirates are there, and most of the quests on this quest board are going to be done by maybe the pirate king of the orcs or the pirate queen of the orcs or whoever it might be, right? Tanglebeard, whatever you kind of come up with. Maybe the pirate guild is doing most of the quests, or maybe it's all the different members of the crew are asking for stuff. That's a great way to kind of tie in some quests, the crew of some infamous pirate ship. All works out great. Let's go ahead and end the save here. We're getting close to decorating this. I'll add some final ropes as it was mentioned by Stinko Adam. So we'll add some final ropes as they mentioned. I think that's a good idea. Oh yeah, we could throw a parrot on there. We could put a parrot with like a spike or a tusk on its head to make it kind of look like it's, you know, a different species of parrot. That would be cool. We'll add that in there too. Let's first figure out that rope situation. Let me just place a rope down real quick. Just see where it is. Make sure it's on the right layer. It's not. Let's first make some adjustments. I'll bring it back to the lighter color. And I want to push it up a layer. Okay. And we'll have a couple hanging. So I'm going to use free draw for this. And so I'll just have a couple kind of looping around it. Let me go up a couple more layers. There it is. Oop. Let's change the scale and let's change the brightness a little bit. Let's do this one. There we go. Okay, yeah, we can add some rope there. Kind of look like it's kind of hanging, looping around, and you can kind of have them hanging from there. Let's do the line for that. So just have a straight one going down. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to have it to where it dangles down so much that it covers up the boards on there. Okay, cool. So we've added some simple hanging of rope there. I think that's a good touch. I think overall this is pretty dang close to what I would think kind of an orc pirate ship would look like. I guess the last thing we might want to do is maybe add some seaweed climbing up the mast. I think that would be a good touch there. So go sea life ocean. Not this seaweed, but I think there's a different one. Let me see. There should be another one that's even better. Let me see if I can find that. No. Maybe it's in the line and shape tool. So if it is, then we'll go there. One second. We'll go there. Line tool. Open it up. Close this. Okay. It should be... Let's go see... Aha, here we are. Sea and beach stuff. Let's go ahead and just go with one line and just put it down real quick. Just see what it looks like. Ooh, that is a lot. But you know what? It might look good at the base of it. And we can bring the scale down just a little bit. I don't want too much repetitive artifacts, so I should be careful with it. Let's also bring the brightness down. It's a little too bright. There we go. And that will kind of break the monotony of the mast, because the mast all looks the same. Normally, when you look like at a dilapidated ship, even a ship that's in service, barnacle and all this stuff will be along the hull. In fact, there were some brutal punishments that for pirates that would kind of disobey orders, or who would fight against the captain, or even steal money for themselves. They would tie them to the rope, and then they would go around the ship, the hull of the ship, and the hull of the ship is covered in barnacle. So that is, you're going to get cut up. It's a terrible way to go, but it's, brutal, right? It's totally brutal. All right, well, I'm not going to do any more decorating because we're already like 31 minutes in. So we're going to call this good. We're going to create the group, and we're going to call it the board itself, or just call it the quest board. Because I want to get to the other elements, the next part, which is adding on the quests. So we have still a little bit left to do. But I think overall, this is a good setup. It definitely screams orc. It definitely... Okay. All right, let's go ahead and add in this. So what I generally use, there are these notes that you can use, like the paper, but I feel that when you scale them up, you can see how chalky like the line work gets. And so what I find to work better than the paper is to actually use a carpet. And the great carpet to use, or a rug, sorry, not a rug, not a carpet, but a rug. These yellow rugs right here, these work great. What you just simply need to do is just desaturate them, unless you want it to be yellow, but you can desaturate them a little bit. And then what they'll look like is paper. And you'll notice that the line work is not as thick and chalky. So these work out great. What I would recommend is locking the quest board and put it a layer below, and then just start placing them, copy and paste, and just put a bunch on the board for now. We're going to end up making them different sizes and orientations, but just put a bunch on for now. Once you've done that, now start changing the sizes, changing the rotation, the orientation, the ones that are hanging. Change the size, make some smaller, make some bigger, right? Different people, different prints, different sizes. And so just kind of rotate them, change the sizes of them, change the orientation, all that kind of stuff like this. And then what that will do is it will kind of give it this feel that they're a little bit more organic. I think some of these are just really much too big. And there are some square ones. You can also put a square one in. Let's hang maybe a smaller square one right here. There we go. The next step is that how are they hanging there? What you can do is you can just use a simple rug, or you can use any kind of circular stamp. Just place it down, turn that shadow off, and then just bring the brightness all the way down. And this will act as kind of a tack. And then just make sure that it's above it, and then just place it in the center. Copy and paste them in the center. And that way it'll make sense that at least you know how it's able to stay there. Otherwise, it's magic paper that just floats there, and we don't know how it stays there. So that, or you can add a tack and add strings attached to make it look like it's strung up. I mean, there's all these different ways that you can kind of go about doing it. Okay. And you know what I might do is I might even change the brightness and even add a little bit more saturation just to kind of change up So it's not all the same paper. You would expect different quality of paper from different types of people. And so changing up the different paper types is a kind of a way to give it a little bit more feel to it. All right, cool. Now we have all those boards there. I'm going to save it real quick, and then we're going to add quests to each board. And when you do the quests, what you want to do is you want to make sure that the quests fit to the thematic, like the theme of the town that you're in. Since we're in a orc pirate town, shanty town, and a quest board, the quests are probably going to be related to that. So your players might be tasked with maybe stopping a terrible sea monster from attacking the harbor. So let's do that. Let's say that people are looking for help to defeat a monster. So let's just go into the catalog, click Incarnate, and there's tons of sea monsters that you can find in Fantasy Regional, Fantasy World, and let's go ahead and just go to Fantasy World real quick. And there should be some sea creatures in here. So let's just do this one, and let's put it right here because of the orientation. We'll put it down here. Now, it doesn't have to be in color. Let's say that you want to create like a watermark, or you want it to look like it's supposed to be on that paper. If you go to the blend mode luminosity, it'll be the same color behind it. And so this is a great way to make look like it's supposed to be on this paper, right? Maybe there's not the proper inks or dyes. So obviously someone who's a pirate wouldn't be able to afford that. So they would have to go with just maybe a regular black or gray ink instead of the more expensive color. Oh, a white whale. Oh, I love that idea. We can throw that in there just to make it a little bit more. This way, what I'll do is I'll bring the brightness and the contrast up. And then what I'll say is say help wanted or whatever. There's a good one. Let's look up. I think there's a pirate 1. Let's just use that text. And because the poster is a light color, it only makes sense to have the text be a darker color for contrast. So you could say sea monster trouble. Okay, and then you go ahead and place it down. We'll go ahead and bring the text down. Make sure that it's right here like this. Another trick is you can use overlay blend mode to make it look like it's meant to be kind of, you see that you can now see the texture of the carpet or the rug is now also on the text. So overlay is a good little trick. So that way it blends in with it. Okay. So that first one is done. Sea monster trouble done. You said whale trouble? Oh, I love that. Let's add in a whale. Great idea. Oh, we'll put a parrot in there as well. There's a whale here, but let's maybe pick a whale icon like this right here. And what I'll do is I'll just do that same trick, luminosity. Put that right on there. And what I might do is bring the opacity down so it looks like it's kind of more faded onto the board. There we go. And then we'll say whale. Did I say whale trouble? Okay. Whale hunt. I think that's what we're probably going to put. Whale hunt. There we go. All right. And I'll put some exclamation marks in there. And then we'll bring the scale up. It's already set to overlay, I believe. Perfect. Whale hunt. And what I'll do is I'll bring the opacity down so it'll also kind of match the same fadedness as the whale icon. So now we've got whale hunt. We've got a sea monster problem. Those two are somewhat similar, but I like that. Let's add that in there. What about it's a pirate, right? So maybe a rum drinking contest. That makes sense, right? Who can hold their ale the best before passing out? It's a fun little quest that you can kind of put in there for your players to do. You can also drink with your players if they want to have a little drink in their game, or if you want to tie in, like maybe your players are looking for a particular rum thief that stole rum, and maybe you'll find them at the rum drinking contest, whatever it might be. It's up to you. Okay, so let's just type in, I think in Parchment World, there's a nice little rum or a kind of a beer icon. I think that'll work out great. What I do is I'll expand all assets so I can kind of see them all. And then if I scroll down, I do believe it's in here somewhere. There it is right there. This icon will work perfectly. We'll place that down. We're going to use luminosity. Perfect. We'll bring the opacity down a little bit. Perfect. And let's rotate it. It's always nice to rotate things. You see how straight, almost, this thing is almost at 0 degrees. So rotate the icon a little bit to give it a little bit more contrast. And so instead of it being perfectly lined up like that, this doesn't look the same. When you rotate it like this, it just looks more interesting. Okay, let's go rum drinking contest. There we go. And of course, you're going to have to scale down the text so that it fits inside of here. Great. And you can even rotate the text if you want as well. It's up to you. You don't, the text doesn't have to be perfectly lined up with the paper. I mean, you can. It's up to you. Okay, let's push this up, give it a little more space. Awesome. It's coming together. We just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more quests to come up with. Some other fun little pirate quests might be something like, let's see here. Oh, a treasure, right? Let's try that. Let's look up a treasure. So, or maybe they're looking for a private retinue. Maybe a crew is looking for members to pull off a big job, like maybe stealing from an Imperial ship or whatever. So you might want to have like, you're looking for a private retinue. So let's maybe do that. Let's go ahead and do our normal thing. Put luminosity on there. Bring the opacity down to kind of fade it in there. Let's say we could put help wanted. Or you could put fighters wanted. Or sailors wanted. All of those, I think, kind of work out just fine, right? A dancing competition, a jig competition, or maybe a spinning a yarn. So maybe a storytelling contest. That might not be a bad idea. So sailors wanted. And see, it's not telling you a lot about the job. The icon will also kind of help you to kind of decide what the job is. Because there's these 2 crossed swords, it's safe to assume that the Sailors Wanted quest has something to do with battle or combat. That's why I've chosen those crossed swords. Just so you know, that's there. A yarn spinning is a good one. It's actually spinning yarn. Oh, I love that. That's funny. Walk the plank diving contest. Oh, I love the walking the plank contest. That's great. That's perfect. All right. Before we run out of time, because we're at 43 right now, let's go ahead and add in some final details. How about you guys just keep throwing out ideas for quests that you guys would like to see? I mean, I'm more than willing to do the walk the plank diving contest. That's funny. But why don't you throw some in there, and then we'll add those in a little bit later. Let's go throw in those little details that we were talking about earlier. I do like the idea of a parrot and then kind of giving them like a horn or making them look like some kind of creature. So let's kind of go with that. I like that. So we'll go back to fantasy battle maps. We should be able to find it in pirate. So see beach wreck. There's a parrot. It could be sitting down like on top. Like this. Oopsie, we have the opacity down. It could be sitting down on top like this. And we could put like a skull on it. Because, I mean, I kind of want it to be orcish. And so what I don't want it to do is to just look like a regular parrot. I kind of want it to look like something different. So it might not be a bad idea to like maybe throw in like the head of like a skull on it like this. That might kind of give it a little bit more scary feel to it. We could even add that tusk to it, give it some horns, and I think this would give it a more, booty hunt. Funny. Custom none. Let's just take a look here. What does this look like? Now let's add, you know what? It's a bird, so it probably need to add something beakish. So we could put this like on the end. I think like that. That would give it a better feel to it. Let's flip it and put another one like right here. There we go. Now it has more of a beak kind of feel to it. We could add some other stuff to it. 5-finger skillet contest. Okay, let's see here. Let's add something to the back of it. I kind of feel like there should be something on top. So maybe we could use like some coral or a plant or something to kind of create the hair part of this. So like maybe we can put that like over here somewhere, like right here. I think that should look good. Let's saturate it up. There we go. Get that more reddish color. There we go. And then this can kind of be like the hair of it. We could bring the brightness down a little bit. There we go. Okay. Yeah, there we go. I think this overall looks good. We could change the color if you want it to be like a different color. Like if you want it to be like the parrot is green or it has like a bluish color. So you could always change those things up. If you wanted to have different colors, you can just stick with red if you want. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, if you want to do feathers, like maybe feathers that are like molting or falling off, you could totally use a quill for that. So right here, there's a quill right here. And then just again, just make sure that you really boost the saturation up so you can get the colors that you want. We'll bring the brightness down. There we go, like this. And then you can kind of just have them copy paste, kind of just floating around like this. Put one maybe in front, put one maybe behind one, and then the one behind it be darker. Make some maybe be smaller in the distance to kind of give it a feeling of, and then maybe put the ones in front up to be a little bit closer, bring the brightness up a little bit on the ones that are up close. There you go. So now we have some feathers. Yeah, that was great. Whoever suggested that, great idea. Love that. So now we have a little parrot on top. What are we at for time here? 46. Tufted feathers. Love it. Oh, yeah, add a little feather at the top. Let's take one of these feathers and then put some like up at the top, but let's push it down like that. There we go. One right there. Copy, paste, flip it. Great idea on the tufted feathers. I like that idea. That's cool. Copy, paste one more, and then we'll push that up like this. Let's have one of them be a little bit darker. Have that one be just a little bit darker. There we go. And one be brighter. Perfect. Yeah, great idea. Love it. So many great ideas. Love all these suggestions. Great. You guys are rocking it. I hope so far you're kind of getting the general idea when you're putting together your quest board. It's about the location. That's going to determine the theme. After you determine the location, or the theme, then you need to decide how the board, the construction of the build, which is that board, is going to look like, right? Because it's a pirate theme, it looks like a pirate ship, right? We've got a mast, we've got the pirate thing. Oh, you know what? There is another thing that we can kind of do to make this look like orc pirates. This is kind of a fun one. We could put on tusks on the pirate itself, but we're going to have to play around with to make it look like it is a tusk. So we have to go with contrast, bring the contrast down. I could choose overlay. No, let's choose here. I think lighten might be the best choice. Let's go with lighten. There we go. Copy, paste. And then what will be kind of fun is we'll have one be bigger. Actually, you know what? Tusks might be the better choice. Kind of like a tusk or something. I think that might be the better choice. There we go. Because they are orcs. So maybe put some tusks there. Let's go down and go back to light and blend mode. Let's actually add the horns. I think that would be a nice little touch to it. And we'll have one horn be bigger than the other. So have a small one like this and a big one. And that will kind of create that, that sense of contrast. There we go. One small one, one big one. Rotate this one, rotate that way. There we go. Now it kind of has that more orcish feel. The other thing that you could do is you could paint it in and make it red. Cool trick. You could use this right here, change it to a color, change it to red. Now the only issue is that on white, the color blend mode doesn't really work that well. Let's just go over it, just kind of see how it looks. Yeah, see, the issue I have with this is that it doesn't work well on that. Now, but you could, anyway, you could still put that on there if you feel like you wanted red to be on there to kind of give it that more orcish feel. So you could totally do that. Just know that with the color blend mode, you should know that the darker the stamp is, the better the color pops out on. So if you have a really light white color, the color blend mode is not going to be quite as effective. So just know that if you want to recolor stamps, you do have to darken them a little bit if you want that color blend mode to work properly. Just kind of a little heads up, something I kind of discovered when I was doing it. Yeah, you could go with green as well. What's really cool is we can just paint it all this in, and then we can change the color of these paths to green. That's the beauty of it. So what we'll do is we'll just color it in for now, and then we'll change it to green. Nice little cool little trick. I probably should have used the room shape or the shape tool for this, because then I could have done it all at once. Now I have to kind of select all these paths, but you know, there's little tricks on how to do that. Don't worry. I do think you're right. Green might work better here, but let's just change it. Let's just get it started here. There we go. Oh no, it did that thing I don't like. Oh no, crud. You know what? Let's use the line. Let's use the shape tool for it. Let's use the shape tool. No stroke, fill, choose color, pick that red color, go up there, and then we'll use a paint option. Bring that brush all the way down as small as you can kind of get it. And then let me just apply it real quick, just to see that it's there. There we go. It's set to color. Perfect. Make sure the shapes are merged so that they'll merge together. And now in that way, I can change it all at once when they're merged together. And I'm just going to paint the whole dang thing, because it's just too meticulous to go all the way up. So I'm just going to do it that way. In other words, I'm being a lazy butt. Just saying. Okay. Now that we've kind of added in that red there, we can go back and change it to green. There we go. There we go. Looks good. Okay. Now you see I had all these shapes, so I just go ahead and select them all. You just click the top one, hold shift, click the bottom one. They all get selected. We can go in and we can change it to green if we need to. There you go. Now you've got green, which I like better. I think it goes well with the parrot. It goes well with the reds and the different colors on the thing. Yeah, and the tusks stand out more. I mean, if you zoom in, they stick out more, but you get the general idea. Perfect. All right, cool. Let's quickly save it, and we're going to go on, add in that last. We'll add in maybe a couple more. Where are we at? 52. Actually, we should add filters and then call it good. If you guys like this, I will make this clonable so that you guys can clone and edit it, change the stuff. I'll add that when I add this to the YouTube channel. I'll add that to the video description. So let's just add in the last bit of stuff in here. I'm going to add in filters. And one of the first things you can do is, because you're in a harbor town, one way to make it kind of creepy is to add in some mist, right? Some fog. It's always nice to add a little bit of fog. So if we add in fog portrait, it'll start getting in some fog there. We can even bring the opacity down a little bit. Okay, and it starts to frame some of the job board as well. So that's a great little touch that you can add there. We might want to give it a more, orcish color. You could go with like a reddish color, red sky. If you want to give it that reddish kind of feel. If you don't like the red sky, then you could always go with the corrupted essence to give it that more greener color that you like. So corrupted or doom, yep, absolutely. And then the next one is you could add a clarity filter to really get the pop out more. And then the one thing that I definitely recommend is always use these color adjustment filters. These things work magic. What I'll do is I'll push the opacity all the way up on it, and I'll probably use the saturation to boost the saturation. Just part of the human eye is that we really like color that really pops out. It's just part of the human eye. We love to see super saturated stuff. It doesn't mean that you can't have a taste for desaturated art or whatever. That it can fit a gothic kind of theme, that kind of desaturated feel to it. But I think super saturated stuff generally catches the eye better. So if you're wanting to sell some of your work, a great little thing to do is color adjustments and to boost that saturation, to give it that extra boost. You might even want to use the contrast filter to kind of boost the contrast. That might make the text stick out a little bit more, just boosting up that contrast just a little more, kind of give that feel to it. Another thing that you can kind of do And then you could add some texture in the background. Oh, there is one last thing that we really should do is we do need to add a light source. Generally, when I do a jobs board, there should always be a light source, whether it's a torch, a brazier, a lamp that's just hanging down, whatever it might be. It's always nice to throw in some of those elements. So let's quickly throw in a lamp. And we got to make sure to add that in there. So real quick, I'm just going to throw in that lamp. It's always good to add in some kind of light source, right? So we'll have it hanging from the edge of the crow's nest here. And then I'll just type in lantern. It should pop up. It's going to be at the bottom, and it's going to be right here, ship lanterns. And we'll just use this lantern right here. Okay, I'll put that there. And then what I'll do is I'm going to choose a light source. So if I type in light, like this, I'm going to choose the normal blend mode. I'm just going to put it right here, like that. And you can change the color too. You can always change the color. Put the light source all the way up to layer +5. We're going to stack our light sources. We're going to have one orange light and then this yellowish light, and then place it right here. There we go. And now you'll notice that adding in a light source really adds a little dimension, adds a little bit more dimension, a little bit more character, I feel, to the map. You know, always adding in at least one kind of light source always looks nice. We're going to add in one more detail and we're going to call it good. I'm going to go and put some stars in the sky. So you can just use Fey lights. If you just type in Fey, come on now. There we go. There we go. You'll see white Fey lights. And bring the opacity down a little bit. And we're just going to paint some stars up at the top here. Okay. Oopsie, not too much. There we go. Paint them up. Some stars up here. And then we're going to call it good. So I'm going to save it. And then if you do like this, I'll totally change it up. I'll change it. Sorry, I won't change it up. I'll totally give you guys the link. Just wait for it to get uploaded to YouTube, and I'll add it there. Or I can clone and edit this and add it to my profile. And then you can kind of also download it there as well. It might have more visibility there. All right, hey, great. All right, well, I'm going to end the stream here because I try not to have them go over an hour, so we're ending it here. Oh, Stinko Adam, feel free to ask me that question in Discord. I'm not going to go into detail about that stuff here. So definitely go join our Discord and I'll answer any questions that you have there. Hey, thank you guys. Awesome. I'm looking forward to the next stream that's on this Wednesday. So please stay safe and healthy. Merry map making. Hope you found this useful, and I will see you in the next stream. Please take care. Auf Wiedersehen, everyone.